Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast with me, ImperialDane. We have for you today a 1 versus 1, as some of you may already have guessed, Semois. Yes, indeed, Semois. And in the upper half corner we have as the American 1st Infantry Division, DeadYou. Captain Dead apparently. And in the southern corner we have me, ImperialDane, as the Wehrmacht 706th Grenadier Division, ready to hold back the Americans and force them back into the English Channel. And of course, let's do a quick summary of the map. Semois road map on a farm area. We have the road going through here, some road also going through the enemy base, or at least close to it, and in the center we have the small village of Semois with the cemetery, which usually gets violently desecrated. Buildings here and there, and the victory points on a straight line with high yield munitions point here and there, and some lower yield fuel points here and there, and the only medium yield fuel points right next to the bases, and of course prime targets for harassment by the enemy. But let's get this started, shall we? Starting out with a pioneer team and a Wehrmacht quarter as usual. Nothing surprising there. And from the same part we see DeadYou setting up a barracks and probably training a second engineer team. So the usual standard setup for both sides in this game. Semois being a rather dusky town at this moment. Fog crawling over the small bridge and through the streets of the old town. Wehrmacht quarters is up, and Volksgrenadiers are being trained to meet whatever the Americans might throw at the forces of the Wehrmacht. So rather quiet at the moment. The Volksgrenadier MG start being one of mine, or at least the one I use. Some may go for the machine gun right away, some may go with a Volksgrenadier machine gun then another Volksgrenadiers, but I rather prefer 2 Volksgrenadiers, since then I can set up a decent defensive position and then move in the MG42 behind it. Whereas with less Volksgrenadiers things might get a bit dicey and I can risk losing the MG42, so I rather prefer the more stable 2 Volksgrenadiers start. For the Americans, well, there's usually just going for 3 rifle teams, which is also a good usual minimum. Some go for 4. I also throw in a jeep for the fun of it. Also allows me to quickly scout out my enemy's positions and find flanking routes and such. Setting up barbed wire on this fuel point to prevent any harassment. It is something some players do, including me, setting up some wire so that this machine gun bunker or nest, depending on who you're playing, outside your base can cover it so that the enemy is actually forced to move inside it, or at least give you time enough to react before the point is lost. Munitions point is taken, and it looks like we may have soon the first engagement, and we in fact see a jeep out as the second unit, which can mean a few things, including that he might try to use it to push my infantry team around, something some players do. I can't say I'm particularly fond of it, as it does feel a bit, well, as you can see, a bit stupid in fact, since one's troops can't really do anything, yet the jeep can just stand right up in their faces and just fire right away. But let's not get too worked up about that. Volksgrenadier team number 2 engaging it as the first one is pulling out, since there's no point in hanging around when the jeep is just pushing those around with absolutely no repercussions. So might as well save the manpower, get those back, and get a machine gewehr for 42 out on the field and suppress those damn Yankees. We see a move for this point here from both sides. Volksgrenadiers moving up here as well, as I sense something is up. And we see the engineers trying to go for this cut-off point, but my Volksgrenadiers managed to put the engineers under fire, although what will happen I can't say. MG42 hits the field and jeep flanks the pioneers and forces them to retreat. Engineers pull back after they have decapped this, and another Volksgrenadier team moves out, causing light damage to the jeep. Since there's nothing else protecting it, causing it to pull back a bit. Volksgrenadiers continuing, suffering some losses due to the low health they have already suffered. Jeep continuing to suffer damage. But the Volksgrenadiers do not give up, intent on causing some damage, possibly even knocking it out, but further losses by its light 30 cal machine gun does force a retreat, and the second Volksgrenadier team moves up. But now the jeep is diverting while this MG42 is covering the area here, and we have a light engagement here in the right half as my pioneers are engaged by the engineers. Reich headquarters still in the initial phase. Volksgrenadiers hang around doing nothing. Wounded comrade writhing in pain, but there's not much his comrade can do without a medic. Third Volksgrenadier team has hit the field, getting me a bit stronger start and moving down here to try and catch these riflemen unawares. At the same time also going for the skirmish phase. Riflemen not aware that there's an MG42 out into the water, trying to get away, but are caught up there. Heavy losses, in fact, 2 down, and the rest are heavily wounded, 3 down. Left behind in the water edge, some wounded, most dead. Now the Volksgrenadiers are moving in to deal with this engineer team being sneaky. And the Volksgrenadiers report no contact while seizing that victory point. And this other team is reconstituted once more to fight the Americans. Well, we see a small surge of riflemen here, although this one is retraining, and we also see a supply yard has been going up for the Americans, meaning they'll be rushing for the M8. Certainly not uncommon, and also why I usually try to go for the Krieg barracks as soon as possible and get a pack, since the Panzerfaust really isn't that much to talk about and can be a bit expensive, in fact, in terms of munitions. Small engagement right here in the western edge of Semois. Large Volksgrenadier squad forcing back the riflemen into cover. Jeep moving in as well. And let's see what happens. Panzerfaust going off, damaging the jeep heavily. Bits going off, the engine is on fire and damage, and the Volksgrenadiers set after it, hoping to completely wipe out the jeep and stop this nuisance to the fatherlands. Volksgrenadier team seeking cover in the garrison building. Volksgrenadiers second team moving up behind the pickup truck, focusing down the approaching riflemen who are out in the open, suffering heavy losses. In fact, Volksgrenadiers suffering minor losses, and the other rifleman team tries to deal with the other one, but exposing themselves to further fire from this strong point, which does goes to show that proper use of garrisoning can really make a difference. And MG42s and Volksgrenadiers are moving in to secure this area as well, giving me a small hand in this central point, and barbed wire is now going up to try and make movement here a bit more restricted and prevent any charges, but riflemen do appear, and the Volksgrenadiers are forced back behind the pickup truck. Riflemen moving around out in the open, suffering some damage but no losses, taking refuge behind the shed here. And we possibly see the Volksgrenadiers moving into support, yes indeed, while a pioneer team is moving up as well, ready there to set up some mines, but are dissuaded from doing that due to riflemen firing at them. We see further Volksgrenadiers opening fire on their riflemen, causing some losses, and we hear a mine going off, stopping these engineers from advancing. Krieg barracks is up, but for some reason I seem to be a bit distracted, and I have not gone for neither a pack or grenadiers or anything actually. And we see the M8 armored car is up, but quickly realizing my mistake, I quickly get a pack and the grenadier team as well. But this might not be enough, as now the M8 is on the prowl, ready to pounce on any unfortunate Volksgrenadiers caught out in the open. And riflemen are moving in as well, forcing the Volksgrenadiers back, still not aware of the M8, I suspect another mine going down here since the first one worked so well. Riflemen caught out in the open in a dangerous crossfire from several sides, but the M8 is now moving in as well, putting pressure on the MG42 team, which may consider pulling back despite being in heavy cover. The situation not being tenable for much longer. Pioneers moving in as well. Pack is out on the field, but that's not going to be enough in the face of the armored car. It's going to take some time. Will I be using Panzerfaust to try and do some damage? Yes, indeed, Panzerfaust going off, taking away some health. Second Panzerfaust off, 70 munitions in fact, but the M8 is still on the field, so quite a lot for not enough effect. Grenadiers moving out as well, and same with Volksgrenadiers. M8 crushing through the barbed wire and perhaps looking to make a retreat, while riflemen are still hanging out in the back. This team running into this mine I just placed, so once more good job and good effect, while fresh troops from 706th are moving out to engage the infantry from the 1st. Pioneers forced back though as they encounter the riflemen. Large combined force of engineers and riflemen moving out as well. Small assault team in fact with some flamethrowers to aid in dealing with garrison troops.
We're losing territory.
Pack covering the central road while it looks like the M8 is pulling back for repairs. And the riflemen are caught out, seizing the point right in the open, suffering negative cover, and are quickly taken apart by the Volksgrenadiers and Grenadiers. And the M8 is quickly and swiftly repaired, while another regrouping is occurring in my base. And a bit of manpower floating around, no usage for that yet. Another Grenadier team in fact, and a lot of munitions as well. Could use it for Panzerschreck, could use it for MP40s, mines, flamethrowers, or mines, or Goliath of course, the ever useful Goliath. But in this case, who knows? Volksgrenadier is quickly being suppressed by the MG on the M8 armored car, being quite effective at that as well. In fact, engagement going on right here in the center. Rangers running right at past the German infantry, right out in the open. Not exactly the best idea, suffering some losses. Having gone for the terror doctrine right here, since I figure I'd go for fanatism, since it allows my men to keep on fighting longer, which certainly fits in with some of the tactics I use. Since I can be a bit reckless, then I might as well push as much out of my troops as possible. Further infantry supporting the central push, while the Rangers are using the church for cover as a strong central position. In fact, further Grenadiers moving in there to try and support